Rapid Prototyping Week 5 Repetition by Q and Kelk. So our game theme this time was an endless runner where you're a player driving a car and running away from a werewolf. Now for this I was in charge of coding, but I also ended up doing the level design at the last moment because the people in charge of that didn't do that. Now I researched into some endless runner games such as Subway Surfers and Temple Run to determine how these games do things, such as how to tell a player that there's an object to avoid, and what do they have to do to reward the player, such as pick up score and the score systems, based on different. Now, some struggles I had was knowing how to create a procedurally generated environment, which I used parts of a YouTube video and mixed it with my own knowledge to solve this. Then I also struggled with making the player stop when colliding into a game object, and then be able to move sideways. I solved this by adding a collision box which acted as a trigger, which when triggered stops player moving forward until the player exits the trigger box. Then I struggled with adding 3D assets to the shop system I created. This was because I used mesh filters, but that wouldn't work with the assets I received. So I switched it to trigger a game object, which will be on or off, which determines the player's skin. Lastly, I struggled with figuring out how to guide the player on the way to go. I solved this by using level design techniques in looking at games in the same genre, such as Subway Surfers. This led me to use coins as guides for the player by giving them rewards to follow, which based on feedback, worked greatly. For software proficiency, I experimented with arrays, which led me to learn that game objects can be accessed by arrays. I taught myself about 3D assets in that lot and how they work in Unity, and how to access and change them. Then I also learned about procedural generation and how to make a procedural generated environment. Now, for emerging tech, I use AI to help me look into if procedural generation is becoming more prominent in the video game industry. This, alongside a web page, helped me determine it was becoming a more prominent trend in recent years. Now I use AI my own knowledge to find some games that did this in recent years, such as Lethal Company Escape the Backrooms in Valheim. Now, here is a list of references.